What's up, my little Pretties? It's your Mistress, the Queen of Lions here, or Shadow Lioness, whatever you guys prefer to call it. Now, today we are back with another episode of Shadows and Pretties. Now, the last episode we talked about Old Yeller, which was about a dog. So today in this episode, I am going to be talking about Bambi. Now, this is episode 56. Well, not 50 something. What is episode? Oh yeah, this is episode 62. And today we're going to be talking about Bambi. Now, I'm sure most of us have seen Bambi, when as a kid and most of us as a kid once we see it, we get really sad because, this movie is pretty sad. And today I'm just going to talk about the Bambi movies. Now, I think I did a review of this, back in 2020, but I can't really remember, but yeah. With that being said, I'm gonna talk about this movie Bambi. Now, this movie Bambi, is it's a 1942 Disney animated film, and of course there is a novel based on Bambi called The Bambi Life in the Woods, which I will be talking about that eventually. Now, with that being said, Bambi is a pretty good story, which is about you could definitely say it's about out a little it's about a white-tailed deer named Bambi. So with that being the case, I'm going to sit there and go ahead and explain. So this whole characters, from the Bambi in the original book, there were some changes in the movie. There's changes in it. So with that being said, in to be completely honest, I am just gonna explain that some differences once we get the opportunity. So first of all, I would like to say if you haven't seen Bambi, I highly recommend you go check it out if you want to. But yet again, if you don't want to get, saddened by, what's going to be described in there, I highly recommend you click off the video. So, with that being said, let's start off with Bambi. So, yeah, this is just my review on Bambi. So, basically, a doe gives birth to a fawn which name is Bambi and who will one day take over the position of the great prince of the forest. So, of course, Bambi's father, who is the prince of the forest, guards the woodland creatures against dangers from hunters, and the fawn quickly befriends with an energetic rabbit named Thumper, who is Bambi's friend. And of course, he helps him, teaches him to walk, talk, and speak, and Bambi grows up very attached to his mother, whom he spends most of his time. But of course, eventually in the movie, he makes other friends, including a young skunk named Flower and a female fawn named Faline, which is aka his mate. So curious as he was, Bambi frankly asks about the world around him, cautioned by the dangers of the forest as it's expected, the creature from his loving mother. So one day out in the meadow, Bambi briefly sees the great prince, but does not realize that it was his father as the great prince wanders uphill, and he discovers the human hunter named Man by all animals coming rushing down towards the meadow to get everyone to safety. Bambi, however, is separated from his mother, and of course, his mother dies, and by the man fires his gun at him, at Bambi's mother. So during Bambi's first winter, he and Thumper play in the snow. No, Wallflower hibernates. Well, one day his mother takes him to find food. Of course, the man shows up again. Well, this is before he gets shot. Bambi's mom eventually dies. So, with that being said, the great prince leads Bambi home to reveal that he is his real father after he told him that his mother was shot and killed. So the next year, Bambi has matured into a young stag, and his childhood friend have entered adulthood as well, and they are warned about the winter parton by the friend Owl, who eventually begin to fall in love. Throughout the trio concepts of romance with the scorn, however, Thumper and Flower, they encountered their beautiful romantic counterparts, and they abandoned part of their formers of love. So Bambi, meanwhile, he himself encounters Faline as a beautiful doe. However, the courtship became quickly interrupted by a challenge like another older stag named Rono. So he attempts to force Faline away from Bambi, and Bambi successfully manages to defeat Rono in a battle to earn the rights of the doe's affections. So Bambi is awakened afterwards by a smell of smoke and follows it leads to a hunter's camp. So Bambi is warned by his father that the man has returned with more hunters, so they have to get all the animals and everybody out to safety. Throughout, Bambi is separated from Faline from the turmoil and searches for her along the way. He soon finds himself cornered by the man's vicious hunting dogs, which he manages to escape. So, of course, when Bambi escapes from them and is shot by the hunter, while meanwhile man's camp and the campfire suddenly spreads through the forest, resulting in a wildflower fire, which causes the forest residents to flee in fear. Bambi and his father and Faline and most of the forest animals have managed to reach shelter on the riverbank. Following spring, of course, is the end. Faline gives birth to her twins underneath the Bambi's watchful eye, as he's now the great prince of the forest. So that is basically the story of Bambi. Now, of course, I'm gonna say right here is that the director of MGM in 1933 purchased the own rights to the novel Bambi, and attempt to make it as a live action film, but of course they said it would be too difficult to make such a film like that. So he sold the rights to the Walt Disney film by 1937, and Disney began working on the craft adaptation immediately, attending to the company's second feature-length animated film, and the first to release on the Pacific. Now, however, as they were doing all that, it would be challenging to animate a deer, so they had to sit there and, do a lot of more work. So as they were doing a lot more work and doing it, however, sometime finally in August of 1939, the production of Bambi began in its earnest, but progressed slowly as the changes studio obtained personal location, mythology, and a bunch of other stuff. So the studio was going on Fantasia as well, so that's why some of this stuff was put on hold in that. The writing was eventually for the storyboard was completed in July of 1940, which was the time's budget film had increased to around almost $900,000. Now the songs eventually, there's not really many songs in there. There's just only a few songs in there, which is pretty interesting. So I could really say Bambi actually became a really good movie, even though it was sad, yes, but it was still pretty interesting to say that right now. So, with that being said, I did hear rumors saying that in 2020 it was announced that they were going to make a computer animated movie of Bambi. I'm not really sure if that's actually going to be happening, like a live action version of Bambi. Well, this is right now we're talking about. We're not talking about, back, then. I know they wanted to make a live action Bambi film back then, but unfortunately, they realized that, doing that would be more difficult. Well, I could definitely say they did that with, some other characters, but, with that being the case, later on, when Bambi was released in 1942 during World War II, and it was Disney's fifth full-length film, and the movie was released in theaters in 1947, 1957, and a bunch of other years as they went by, they re-released it and then made available for North America home video in around 1989, and in the UK in 1994. Even in home video has been seen a couple releases, including free VHS releases, the classic version and masterpiece version, platinum edition, and etc. So they had released it in theaters a few times because it was that good, and then they would eventually re-release it on DVD, but they released it on VHS eventually. So of course they released it, have it on DVD, and of course they went on making more releases. So, with that being said, of course, the honor of the film's 75th anniversary sometime in 2007, 2017, sorry about that. Bambi was released as part of Walt Disney's Signature Collection at that time. So, with that being the case, they did some critical reactions. So, Bambi received the mixed reviews from critics and even made success. So, there's actually some, complications when it came to it, so they had to sit there and do it. So, of course, there is the computer animated remake, which was announced in 2020, which was last year. But however, we're not sure if it will be, released to the public eventually. So, with that being the case, they were not really sure about it. But they did, live action movies of The Jungle Book and even The Lion King and some other movies. But they're in the process of making, Bambi the live action version. So I'm wondering if the live action version of Bambi is going to be good. So if it is going to be good, I am going to be so happy if it is good. But I really don't know if Bambi is going to get a live action remake, because if they do, it will be awesome if they do, but I can't really say if they will. get, a good I don't know if the live action remake is going to be good or not. I don't really know for a full on fact. So that is actually a question that I'm not really sure if they are going to. So with that being the case, let's sit there and, discuss more on it. So of course, the copyrights for Bambi: A Life in the Woods based on the book. However, it was in the public domain when they eventually immediate entered to that. So Disney also argued about they claimed the publication date, and they had some arguments back then. So I'm not going to go too much into Bambi 2 because Bambi 2 is not really, well, it's a midquel, but it just wasn't that great in my opinion. I just find it wasn't really cool or anything like that. So with that being the case, I'm gonna, not talk about it too much, but all I could say is that it's a midquel to the first Bambi movie. Like, it takes place during the first Bambi movie. So, with that being said, I'm gonna go on with the book so you guys can, understand what the plot of the book is. So, Bambi is a roe deer born in a thicket in late spring one year, and over the course of the summer, however, his mother teaches him about the forest and the way deer live. When she feels that he is old enough, she takes him to the meadow, which they learned is a wonderful but also dangerous place as it leaves deer exposed into the open, pinned by hunters. So after internal fear of his mother's caution, Bambi enjoys the experience, and he meets his aunt Edna and her twin fawns, Faline and Gobo. So now they quickly became friends and they shared what they learned about the forest. However, while they were playing, they encountered Princes, a male deer for the first time after the stags leave. The fawn learns of whoever's fathers, but of course their fathers rarely stay or speak with the females and their young. So as Bambi grows older, his mother begins to leave him alone. While searching for her one day, Bambi had first discovered with the animal terms for humans, which terrifies him as the man raises his arm and aims at him. But of course, Bambi flees and joins by his mother. However, he is scolded by a stag for crying for his mother. When Bambi gets used to being alone at times, he later learns the term stag is called the Old Prince, the eldest and largest stag who is also known in the forest for his aloof nature. During the winter one day, Bambi meets a young doe, and an old doe who is no longer bear his young, and two princesses, Rono and Carius. So there are some, characters in this book that had not been added by the Disney, but I can definitely say they were not added by Disney, but they were in this book, but they were never added by Disney, or they never really thought of that. During midwinter, the hunters enter the forest, killing animals, including Bambi's mother. So Bambi's mother does die when Bambi was in his, young adult years. But in the movie, she dies when he's young. So Gobo also disappears in the movie, but it was presumed dead. So after this, the novel skips a year later. Nothing about Bambi is now an young adult, and is cared by Needla and a bunch of that he gets his first set of antlers. He was also harassed by other males, and during its summer, Bambi is now sporting his second best set of antlers and is reunited with his cousin Faline. So in this one, Faline is his cousin in the book, but in the movie, she's his mate. So I'm not really sure how they put it at, but I guess they kind of, had to go, down different routes when it came to this. So, of course, this is actually a really good story. So during the time when, he reunites with his cousin Faline, he battles, kills, and defeats Clarice and Rono. But of course, Bambi and Faline eventually fall in love with each other, and they spend a great deal of time together. During the time, the old prince saves Bambi's life when he nearly runs towards a hunter, imitating a doe's call. When he teaches the young buck cautious about blinding rushing towards any deer call. But during the summer, Gobo returns to the forest, having to be raised by a man who has found him collapsed in the snow during the hunt where Bambi's mother was killed. So while his mother and Marina are welcomed and celebrate him as a friend of man, of course the old prince and Bambi pity him. So when Marina becomes his mate, but several weeks later, Gobo is killed when he approaches the hunter in the middle, falsely believing that the halter he wore to keep them safe from all the men. When Bambi continues to age, he begins spending most of his time alone, including avoiding Faline, even though he still loves her in a melodic way. several times when he meets an old prince who teaches him about the snares that allows him to roam freely with the other animals, and of course encourage him not to use the trails and to avoid traps by men. So when Bambi is later then shot by the hunter, yes, Bambi gets shot by a hunter. The prince then shows him to walk in circles to confuse the man with his dogs until the bleeding stops. Then when he takes him to a safe place to recover, they remain together until Bambi is strong enough to leave the safe haven once again. So when Bambi has grown gray and is old, the old prince shows him that the man is not all powerful by showing him the dead body of a man who was shot and killed by another man. So when Bambi then confirms that he now understands that he is not all powerful and that there is all other creatures, the stag eventually tells him that he's always loved him and he's always called him his son before leaving. So at the end of this novel, Bambi meets two twin fawns who were calling for their mother, and she scolds them for not being able to stay alone. But after leaving, he thinks to himself that the girl fawn reminded him of Faline, and that the male one was promising that Bambi hoped to meet him again once he's grown. So that is basically the story of Bambi. So this one was actually a pretty interesting, an interesting story. It's kind of based on, the Disney one, except there are some differences in this, but of course, there is a sequel to this story, which is Bambi's Children, which is a sequel to the original book. Now, I'm not going to get too much into the detail, but I'm just going to say that it evolves and if the story follows to the twin fawns of Bambi's Children with his May Faline, as they grow into young adults, Dalton wrote the sequel while living in exile in Switzerland after being forced to flee the occupied Austria of the Jewish heritage. So basically, this story of plot is about the twin fawns that learns the pleasures of as well as the downhills of nature, and about this it's about Faline raises them to adulthood, but she does not die. But however, more or less at the end of the book, it evolves two families and their feuding become friends again. But at the end, Faline lets her children go their own paths, and she appears to be on the meadow with her newborn fawn Furto. So that's basically the story. Well, the sequel, Bambi's Children. Now that's actually the end of Bambi's Children. So I didn't really go too much depth into Bambi's Children because, it just basically talks about, Bambi's children growing up. There's not really, very much or anything like that. So with that being the case, I actually found Bambi to be a rather enjoyable movie. And the story, the book, I actually found the book to be just as good as the movie, but although I do like the Disney one a lot better for some reason, I like the Disney one, but the book was actually pretty good. Now, Bambi's Children, it seemed interesting, so I might consider checking it out in the future. Anyways, with that being the case, what did you guys think about this, this story? Did you all enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Leave me know the Disney, what did you guys think of the Disney movie? Did you all enjoy it? Did you not? And what did you think of the movie Bambi? Did you all like it? Did you not? Did you like Bambi 2? Did you like the books? Did you like the first one? And also, what we have done personally to help make them a lot better. Feel free to let them know in the comments below, and yeah, with that being the case, I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode, and if you happen to be brand new here on this channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload. So, with that being said, as always, please roll the outro because I'm out of here, and I'll be catching you all in the next video. So, thank you so much for watching, and as always, please roll the outro because I'm out of here, and I'll be catching you all. Oh, no, wait a second. There's no outro. Sorry, I don't know why I keep saying outro. I guess maybe this is just because I, used to sitting there and reviewing, creepypastas. But with that being said, I could definitely say thank you so much. And as always, I'll be seeing you all in the next video. Peace out, everyone. As always, I'll catch you all next time.